Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2021 show. I'm your host, Don Kay, and we are live today from McGilvery Speedway at 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA and the Reborn Trans Am Series, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery at 30th and High School and Speedway, where we currently are, and of course 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife Dr. Liz Lewis has a spectacular dental practice, and if you ever need a dental work, trust me, you'll love it there. It's called the Indy Dental Group. Check into it. We're also brought to you by VP Insurance on 16th Street in Speedway. Call Mike and Pardee and talk to him if you're looking to upgrade your insurance at less money. He's got the coverage for you. And my computer guru now has an office at 549 Fleming Street on West Washington. It's Steve Freeze. Go see him. If you got a question, give him a call at 317-938-1177. He can help you. And November the 10th to the 14th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds is the Holiday Gift and Hobby Show. You've got to get out there. They got over 350 vendors and all kinds of goodies for the holidays, and Santa Claus is there, so take the kids with you. That's the 10th to the 14th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, the Holiday Gift and Hobby Show. It's a great event. You want to be there. My guest today is a gentleman who has spent 20-some years as sports director at local ABC Channel 6 here in Indianapolis. And somebody found his phone number, and they called him up and said, hey, we got a job at the Speedway. How would you like to be vice president of communications for the IndyCar Series? Being a sports nut to begin with and a full race fan, he took the job. My guest today, the one and the only, Mr. Dave Furst.
Wow,
Dave,
the one and only. I'll take that, Don.
So how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
What's it like with the job you have now? You don't go to high school football games. You don't get mobbed by teenagers screaming. You don't go to basketball games. And you're home in bed probably by the time you normally would be on air.
Well, see, you would think that, but that's actually not the case because I've got a high schooler now.
Oh, boy.
Who she couldn't care less about high school football until she became a freshman at the high school, and now she wants to go every Friday night. So now I'm still going to Friday night football games and basketball games. I've got a 10-year-old son too. He's a big basketball fan, loves playing the game. So trust me, we'll be around high school basketball and football for a while. It's Indiana. You can't forget that sort of thing, you know.
Well, no, but you know, what prompted you? I know when you weren't busy with other things, when the radio network would call and say, we're going to be an event, we want you to come and be part of the broadcast team, you went. So obviously, if not your best, most exciting sport was racing. And when the opportunity came, was there any question in your mind? Yes, I'll take it.
It was an opportunity that doesn't come around very often. I mean, let's face it. And you know, I still have vivid memories as a 9-year-old going to the Speedway for the first time to watch the Indy 500, and right then and there, I'm like, this is the coolest thing. I don't know what's better than this. Now, I'm fortunate in my career that since then I've been to some World Series and championship games and Final Fours here in Indy and Super Bowls and all of that. But there's still, I mean, all these great events throughout the course of any given year. But still, going to the Indianapolis 500, it gets you each and every time.
And you travel with the series, so when they go out to California, you have to pack a bag. And
I have to, but it's chilly here. We have to go out there and thaw out a little bit. And the great thing about this series is we go to some fantastic race markets, and they are becoming race markets because they're seeing the product that's on the track, the people that surround the NTT IndyCar Series, Indy Lights now for that matter as well, and so it's growing right now. It's great to see.
The eyes this year have been picking up. The viewership on television is growing well, and I think people are starting to realize there is other racing series, but nothing as competitive and as close racing as the IndyCar Series has. So it's got to be exciting to see the series grow.
Yeah, it's interesting. We go to the, like I mentioned, a lot of great race tracks and areas, and it seemed this year when we were leaving town, packing things up, Matt Greco, who does a great job on the IndyCar staff, goes through all of the statistics on each and every race, and it seemed like every time we were leaving, the amount of passes on track each and every weekend surpassed anything that we had seen in IndyCar previous. So, I mean, the race product itself is exceptional, and we kind of feel like it's the best in the world. And these numbers are backing that up, too.
Right. And the other thing I find interesting is Formula One drivers are waking up when things get slow in Europe. They say, you know what's a more competitive series, more fun is IndyCar, and they're coming.
Yeah.
And I got to think with Marcus Ericsson and Felix, and now Romain Grosjean, the European eyes are starting to grow, and that's great. And the neatest thing I thought was when Romain did his first test at Barber, and I think in the first lap or the first corner of the first lap, he spun the car. And they said, what was that? He said, I didn't realize you drive these cars. Formula One you didn't drive, it was all downforce, and you had to turn them. He said, these are fun, you got to drive them.
A couple things on that. Romain, I think also that first test he had at Barber, which is about a year ago now, I think, also realized that these cars don't have power steering. You got to steer these things, and so he's worried about the muscles in his neck and the muscles, the biceps. He's going home doing dumbbell exercises. So this is a pretty physical car compared to Formula One, where they just kind of use the steering wheels back and forth, and it's precise, but it's very forgiving, I think, at the same time. But two, each and every one of these guys that come over from Formula One or from GP2, they all walk to the paddock area and realize what a welcoming atmosphere it is. And yeah, you still want to go out and beat your teammate, but there's easily, you can walk through and you can have a conversation with other drivers from other teams and officials and fans, and it's a very different environment, and each and every one of them that have come over here realize how refreshing that is.
It's kind of, I got to think it is a shock, because when Formula One was here, I had credentials to get, but you couldn't get in the garage.
That's right.
And I had a friend of mine whose company was a sponsor of one of the teams, and I said, have you ever met the driver? He said, no. Why? Well, you only give them $30 million, so that's not, in Formula One, that's peanuts.
Right.
So, it's a new atmosphere for them, and the competition on any given day, on any given weekend, anybody can win. I made a mistake when I was talking to Mark a while back, and I said, well, any race, there's 10 or 12 guys that go in. He said, no, they're not, there's 20.
There's more than that.
They can win on any given Sunday.
Well, think about it. I mean, this year, 16 races, we had 9 different winners. And the countries that were represented were from 8 different countries, right? Of all the winners that we had in 16 different races. So it's incredible, the competition. And it all kind of starts, you can go further back if you want to Jim Clark and the Formula One guys that did it then, Hill and so forth, maybe Emerson Fittipaldi as well, but a more recent vintage, a lot of this goes to Fernando Alonso when he did the 500, and I think raised the eyebrows of a lot of Formula One drivers that maybe didn't think that IndyCar would be a legitimate option, but now it absolutely, a couple of weeks ago, Nico Hülkenberg, who has been around the series Formula One the same amount of time as Grosjean had, and by all accounts he had a spectacular test down at Barber Motorsports Park, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of Nico as well.
Well, and all that does, in my opinion, and they say Formula One is starting to grow here in America.
Yeah, it is.
They recognize these people and say, oh, well, let's watch IndyCar, because the guys that we used to watch are now here.
Yeah.
And we can go see them. We don't have to fly across the ocean.
I think one of the great compliments you can get as a series is when even the Formula One drivers, they'll say, when we're not racing and IndyCar is, I watch an IndyCar race because the racing is so good.
How have things changed since you've come on board with the change of the stewardship of the series and the Speedway? How has your job changed?
I go to a lot more meetings now. we got. In fact, as soon as we wrap up, I got a meeting. But no, it's. You go back to the captain and Roger Penske, and if anyone is going to take over a facility like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and a series like the NTT IndyCar series, you want it to be Roger, because he wants everything perfect. He's going to make sure that everything is perfect. It's all about the fan experience. We did have 135,000 fans at the Indianapolis 500 this year. Plus, well, maybe a few more, but technically 135 in the grandstands. And so obviously, we hope with the pandemic, more and more things open up. We're hoping to double that and maybe get it back to what people expect the Indy 500 to be as the single, biggest single day sporting event in the world.
Well, this year it still was anyway.
It's still up there for sure, yeah.
The biggest. What can we look forward to for next year? What's new? What are they changing? I'm going to go back to Roger for one thing. One thing he has stressed since the day he walked in the door and said, yes, I'll buy it, he wants the fans to enjoy it and want to come back. Now, they're going to put on a show, which IndyCar, Jay has gotten the cars where they're very competitive, very good, but he wants the fans to come in, put all those televisions under the main grandstand so the people up high can see what's going on, because all they see is the track and a little bit of the pit area. So now they got the big TV screen. He's really gone, in my opinion, overboard to make sure the fans enjoy it. It's clean. Everything's been repainted. If it didn't move, it got a coat of paint on it. So I mean, he really is a fan guy.
Well, I mean, he was a fan. His first visit here, and so he wants to make sure that all of those people that pay good, hard-earned money want to come back and revisit the Speedway, and I think you and I will attest. All it takes is one visit, and you're hooked for life. And so he wants to make sure that not only will you come back, but you'll have an enjoyable experience. You'll go home. You'll tell friends. You bring friends next year, so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, the sport is continuing to grow.
What can we expect for 2022 that's advancing from 2021?
Well, I think what you'll see on the race track itself will continue to grow in terms of entries. We had as many as 27, 28 entries by the last 3 races out on the West Coast. That's the most car count that the series has seen in some 10 years. And we expect other teams to expand a little bit. So that's going to be one thing we're keeping an eye on for sure. And then the development of the hybrid engine will continue. That's on pace to be on track in 2023. And so all sorts of good things happening coming down the pike.
I'm not sure I understand. What is a hybrid? What is that? What is the advantage?
You got to stay tuned. We've got an announcement coming up in the next couple of months. It's going to kind of unveil. But here's the thing: it's not going to be. I know people. You hear the word hybrid, and you think it's a quiet engine that we've seen running around town and whatnot. It's still going to have that IndyCar sound. It's still going to have the excitement that it's a visceral experience, right? When you go to the Speedway, it's not just visual, but it takes care of all the senses, right? And that's still going to happen. But what this hybrid will do, will provide more power for these engines to the tune of 100, maybe 200 horsepower at the end of the day.
So for somebody to say, we're
not talking like 1,000. But these guys should show up in the 60s and could really open it up. But it's going to become, I think, something that fans are going to be talking about in a great deal. So the
record for qualifying at 138 is going to be passé.
Good 100. Or which one?
238.
138. You took you back to the 80s, 70s, 80s.
No. Yeah. I was here with the
Sneva.
I was here the first 150 mile an hour.
There you go. I don't think. I think Ari's record is safe for the time being.
Until 23. Roger has said, and I have read, not that he called me and said it, but he's interested in more ovals. And I hear constantly, I get emails constantly. I want to change my email address. Why don't they have more ovals? Now, why would anybody ask me is beyond me. I don't know. But he has said
because you have your finger on the pulse of the series, that's why.
Sure. I know Glenn Timmis. He's my go-to guy. But is he looking to expand maybe in a year or two and add 19 or 20 races?
You talked about what's to come next year, and that is one of the things to come. We've got a doubleheader at Iowa Speedway coming up, and the great thing about this doubleheader is the sponsorship and the partnership that a company called Hy-Vee has brought to the table. It's mostly a Midwestern-based supermarket chain. Right. Don't have them in Indianapolis yet, but they're looking to expand. And it's a high-end groceries. I mean, it's fantastic, and the beauty of this grocery supermarket chain is you walk in. Not only are they putting their name with IndyCar, but they have merchandise. They've been around with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing for a couple of years now. You go in and they've got cardboard cutouts of the drivers and IndyCars everywhere, and that's the kind of partnership that this series or any series would love to have. So the NTT IndyCar series is very fortunate to have these partners involved. But Iowa's going to be spectacular. The races there have been wonderful in the past, and so I think there's no reason to believe that that won't change in 2022.
I saw the announcement, and the CEO of Hybrid had said, or Hy-Vee. I have a friend of mine who's a manager of a department in a Hy-Vee store in Illinois.
Yeah.
And he said, they asked 89,000 employees, is this a good idea? And they, without question, said absolutely.
Yeah.
And they wear shirts with IndyCar and Hy-Vee and all that stuff. So and I suspect their drivers, whoever's going to get the Hy-Vee sponsorship, will be making appearances at some of their stores, I would assume.
Well, you could easily assume that, yes, especially if you're a Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan driver. I think your calendar is getting booked up as we speak.
And I think you're right. It looks like now there are going to be 27, 28, possibly 29 cars running regularly, because I saw Jay put out a thing in Racer Magazine where he said, we got a problem. And they said, Paul said, what's the problem? Simple. They're a 40-foot pit, and we got that many cars. We got to shrink them. That makes it difficult for pit stops and so forth, but they'll do what they got to do to get the cars.
That's also called a good problem to have.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You have meetings constantly. What can you do in a meeting that you aren't already doing, or after 25 years in the business, don't already know how to do?
Well, it's more organizational for me. Whereas, if I'm in TV or working for the radio network, it's more reactionary. You're covering things. Usually what you've already covered has already happened. Now we're planning, and that's what we're doing. It's called the off season, but trust me, no one's really taking time off. It's really more non-racing season than it is off season. We're constantly putting together plans and marketing and communications, getting ready for 2022.
I know I get a lot of emails saying, where are they? They're on vacation. No, they're not.
No, they're not on vacation.
The work is done
assure
now,
you, yes.
Because when the racing starts, if they haven't got it done, it's too late. You're dead.
Correct.
So what in your department are you in contact with the area where the events are held with the media, and let them know, and getting drivers and so forth to
Sure.
Be on talk shows or go to whatever the city is and do a sports program? Are you promoting that kind of thing to keep the world aware that we're coming?
Yeah, well, and a lot of it happens organically too. I mean, we've got the next couple of weeks, I think we'll hear some more news about driver announcements. There's still a couple of seats out there to be had. So that's going to come to fruition over the next month and a half or so. We're constantly working with the promoters in each and every market because we're going to be February 27th, the opener on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. It's the earliest start in I think some 18, 19 years or so for the series. So while we all celebrate the holidays and look forward to January 1st, January 2nd I think is when or 3rd. But with that first work day in 2022, we're going to be hitting the ground running because the first race is going to be here before you know it.
And what that means is I had reservations on the airline to fly down for the March race. Well, now I got to figure out how to change it because it's going to cost me more to get there. But who knows? Whatever it is.
They know who you are. They'll take care of you, though.
Yeah, sure. If they knew who I was, they wouldn't have sold me a ticket. Do you miss the television that you did for 25 years as a director of sports for ABC Channel 6 here at town? Do you miss that?
Sure. I mean, there are aspects to it for sure. What I really miss, you go back to Friday nights. I loved on Friday nights getting to chat with the high school, the football coaches or basketball coaches, or get to know their families a little bit. And so I kind of miss those relationships. I still have some with a few of them who'll text me and text back, and I still follow who's winning and who's doing well. So I miss some of those relationships, but this is it's a whole new animal for me, and it's a great challenge because we all love racing. If you're watching this, you love racing. You want to see it to succeed like the rest of us, and so that's certainly our goal and my goal.
I have to say, I did see, and I forget what the event was, but I pulled it up and said, here's the video, so I clicked on it, and there you are.
Yeah,
And
well, I
Gasoline
still do
Alley.
videos, yeah. That's the beauty of it. So they're lucky enough to still think, yeah, I'm good for something, so let them do a preview of the race weekend, so those are fun too, yeah.
And with your experience, it's just a walk in the park because you've done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And I think also, to me, the good thing is if I got a question, you understand what I'm asking. It's been in the past, I'd ask a question, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, not that I have any genius questions particularly, but, and I will say this, when I call this gentleman, he will either answer the phone or he will call back. So what do you want now? And I'll tell him what my weaselly little question is and he'll answer me. And I appreciate that, and I think—
You got it.
And I think, overall, there's a couple of people that are no longer with the series that shocked me when it happened, but I think overall the people on staff now are as good as there is, and I think, including you.
I'll take that. We have a great group, and it's a team because we're all pulling in the same direction. I know it's a cliche, but it's a great group to be around. We all know the goal, and we're all working hard to get there.
And I've said this 100 times, but I've been told by those who attend meetings, it wasn't you, but several others have said when we have a meeting, everybody meets and Roger's at the head of the table, and you sell pretzels, but you might have an idea and he'll ask you. He wants to hear from everybody. It doesn't matter if what they're talking about is in your bailiwick. You might be sitting there and say, I got an idea, they should do this. And he's willing to listen to everyone.
They're very collaborative. If someone has a great idea, or even if it's a bad idea, we still want to hear it because it's an idea that we might use, maybe not then, but down the road. So it's all good.
Very interesting. The man has been around for many, many, many years in racing. In fact, when they were announcing he was buying at the first press conference, I said to him, I met you in either 54 or 55 at Meadowdale Raceway outside of Chicago. He said, I don't remember that. I said, well, you wouldn't remember me, but at the time you could get into the pit area. You didn't have to sign your life away and everything. You could just get in. And what impressed me about him, his team was, they were ironed shirts. His driving uniform was—
Penske perfect, yeah,
yes,
right?
it didn't look like John Force. It was brand new, and I thought that really impressed me. I went up and introduced myself. He didn't know who I was, and he didn't remember. He said, I don't remember. I said, I don't remember that much either, but I remember doing it. So he has been around, and he's been, as far as I could ever see, when he came in, you knew he was there. You knew who the Penske people were.
He's a special individual. There's no question about that, and that has not wavered one bit.
And even at his young age, he's here almost, they say he's here every week for at least one day, and sometimes two.
That's accurate, yes.
And I asked Al Unser Sr. one day, I said, when does Roger sleep? He said, on a plane, because he's on a plane most of the time. It's interesting. People that are there, like yourself, I thought it was a brilliant move. When I heard you were coming, I thought, wow, good move, good guy that understands communication and public relations. So I myself look forward to questioning you from time to time. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a meeting upcoming, so you got to skedaddle.
Always a pleasure, Don.
But I appreciate you coming in and stopping by for a few minutes.
Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
And to you. And if you'd like a pair of tickets, you take your wife or your kids to the holiday gift and hobby show, I'll give you a pair.
Look at that. Seamless, right? The segue into the plug. How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, that's a pro there. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
You got it.
Unfortunately for you, I got your number. I'll call you again.
Anytime. Thanks.
See what's happening. Thanks.
You got it.
My guest, one of the best, Dave Furst, Vice President of Communications for the IndyCar Series. Until next time, we have some other guests lined up, so we will be here again. But until then, this is Don Kay saying thanks for watching. Until next time, see ya.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
your time.
You got it.